Hi, I'm Bryce.
And I'm Jimmy.
We are telecom and creative professionals. We're also fans of podcasting as our respective careers give us an abundance of windshield time.
While there is a podcast for just about any obscure topic you can think of, there was no regular podcast pertaining to Montana politics.
And that is why, with our combined powers, we are Montana Voices Podcast.
We strive to be an independent voice for all issues pertaining to Montanans and Montana politics.
We also strive to be very forthcoming with our personal biases as we attempt to see beyond them.
Montana Voices Podcast does not operate in a vacuum. We need your support, whether that be listening to our cast, providing us feedback, sending us conversation topics, sharing our content, or providing financial support.
We look forward to a long career in podcasting with your added assistance.
Welcome to episode 26 of Montana Voices Podcast. We're back from hiatus here.
It's great to be here. Glad you could join us.
It certainly is. We're trying something new. This is our first live feed, and we're no editing. We'll do it live, Bryce.
Just like Bill O'Reilly in the old days, I believe. He was the one who got famous saying that line, right?
Yeah, that was Bill O'Reilly. So, what a time to be alive. The technology has come to a place where people that don't have a lot of money, like ourselves, can afford to do this sort of stuff. The technology is easily reachable. Everybody should be on live.
Yeah, it's a place to be.
Well, we've got a number of issues. This was sort of a very loose cast. Usually we have a somewhat rigid script that we run through, but figured it's been so long. Months, it feels like, mostly because it was months. So let's go through our business, and then we'll dive right into our issues here.
Indeed. Let's pull up the old business list here. It's been a hot minute. So, if you want to check out all of our episodes from the past and see what we're up to, our website's going to be the best place for that, and that's going to be montanavoicespodcast.com. If you want to email us your gripes, concerns, any complaints, or if you'd like to be on this show, we're more than happy to have you on. You can email us at montanavoices@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter at Montana_voices. You're watching us on Facebook Live right now, we assume. At Montana Voices Podcast. And then you can look us up on YouTube by searching for Montana Voices Podcast.
Well, that is an exhaustive list of, if only there was one place where we could put all of our things. That would be. If only. Well, let's dive into our new issues. Said it's been a bit and a lot has happened since we last spoke, but there's no time looking back into the past. We just have to go blaze straight forward into the future here.
Indeed. Let's see, what do we got first coming up here? Well, to start out, usually you only see this kind of news in the likes of Billings, but it seems Great Falls is starting to tread into this industry as well. And that industry is I don't know what it would be the best term for this one.
You could call it trafficking. We are keeping this radio ready and clean and stuff, because we're going to talk about radio later. So you can say trafficking. That is grotesque, but it's not anything the FCC is going to frown on.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of what it was too anyways, so might as well call it what it is.
There's trafficking, there's prostitution. We were specifically talking about a sting that just went through by the Cascade County Sheriff's Office, apparently with a bunch of organizations, and they called it trafficking, and and they call a lot of these things trafficking, but it's not trafficking in the classical sense. They use the specific word classicking in any news release when they talked about people that are arrested and such, but this appears to just be a case of regular prostitution. This is adults who made ads for sex and got arrested when they came looking for that sex. So...
yeah, so I don't know. That almost, to me, makes me wonder if they're... what the state's terms are for such... crimes, I guess.
I don't think there is any hard criteria, but I know there's been a lot of attention on trafficking recently, and certainly it is an issue. And if it happens, you just have to put a sort of forefront on that, because I'm talking about trafficking. I don't want to detract from trafficking, and obviously no person supports trafficking and wants to do everything they can to stop it. But I'm talking about the definition of trafficking when we're talking about consensual adults, even if they're doing something illegal, such as prostitution in this case, which there was 5 people arrested, I think, Bryce?
Yeah, I believe so. 5 total is what it looks like.
Yeah, 5 in the initial, and 1 woman, which is surprising, because that when they do this sort of bust, usually they're after Johns, I think. But don't worry, I'm sure the justice system will get her the exact help she needs.
Well, yeah, I believe they'll arrest anyone and everyone who walks through that door.
And speaking of walking through doors, I touch about the touch of class over there, which I guess the sheriff's office is finally catching up on because, it was sort of a joke even when I was in high school or earlier in Great Falls that it was touch of clap or touch of.
That's one I didn't ever really hear myself, but
It must have been in different circles, Bryce.
anytime that you see any kind of massage place that's open for 24 hours, it's kind of a telling sign. So, just seems like a hard place to keep staffed that long. Any 24-hour operation is usually a hard staffing,
Yeah, exactly. Which is why the only restaurant open in Great Falls at night is Burger King, and I think even Hardee's quit doing that for 24 hours. If I remember.
I believe there's still Denny's up on the hill there.
Is that really a restaurant though?
Is Burger King?
Good point. A fair point. So they arrested the Madame of Touch of Class. Turns out they had a system and were categorizing Johns as they call them. And this is not the first time she's been arrested for this work. So apparently she's a figure in the community. Arrested 15 years ago, then arrested in another state long before that. So it's a lot of time in this business.
It is. Well, hopefully she can find her way into a new line of work that's not as illegal.
Yeah, well, she was a business owner, and having any business last that long, even a very illicit one, I think totes some skills.
Well, I mean, she puts herself into a tough position now. If she ends up with a felony, it's going to be hard to get a loan from the bank. But anyways.
Well, Burger King may be hiring upon her release, so.
Anyways, yeah, this is. I feel like we've spent too much time on this now. It's an unfortunate event, either way you look at it, and hopefully this town can see its way out of this mess and onwards and upwards to better places. Like getting out there to green our lawns.
Yeah, our public lawns in Pacific. We can't have any homeless out on the Great Falls public library lawn. That's a big no-no, apparently. We were citing a recent article in the E-City Beat by Common Contrib. Should we give him attention? Because Rick Tryon is the author of the article, and his recent shtick is sort of his...
You gotta cite your sources.
Yeah, I do, but he's a political candidate now, and I feel it's unfair that we give him time and not talk about his opponent, because, there's...
Who is his opponent?
I don't even know. He's going against is it Hauk or...
I don't know. It's commissioner he's going for, right? So yeah, I guess it would be Hauk.
Oh man, it's finally Hauk.
So yeah, I guess we'll have to see how that one rolls out.
Yeah, so as far as, fair time, when Trump decided to run for presidency, MSNBC took whatever his reality show was, stopped airing it for free and stopped airing it entirely, and I haven't seen it since. But I don't know if that wasn't The Bachelor or The Patriot or something. Where it was firing people. Yeah, The Apprentice. Yeah. I'm sure glad we have a president who had the guts to stand up to Gary Busey.
I don't think he stood up to Gary Busey as much as Meatloaf stood up to Gary Busey, from what I saw.
Yeah, we'll have to review the tapes if they're available. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rick had a recent article complaining about apparently he went to the library and there was some homeless people camping out in the middle of the day. I have yet to see that. In fact, I was in town on that same weekend that he posted that, and I went and even took a picture of the not homeless people. Nobody was there. So, and he has actually a few other articles, talks about safety and one incident's too much, and they're all in the E-City Beat, which of course is the right-wing alternative to, I think, The Electric.
Yeah, it's the other independent news network within Great Falls. But yeah, for as long as I remember going to Great Falls Public Library, there's always been like the potential for at least a couple, ragtag looking fellows outside because you're in the downtown area. And like, I mean, some of those people just don't have homes. So like, where do you want them to go? You know?
Downtown, within very close walking distance of the rescue mission, where we typically congregate.
And on top of that, like the other thing I'm curious about with this is people were camping out during the day, from what the report was, right?
Yep,
What I saw, like in
that's what he
sleeping bags
reported.
during the day. Most places are sticklers about overnight camping. They could care less what you're doing on the lawn during the day because it's a public lawn. Who knows? You're reading a book in your sleeping bag and you fell asleep.
Well, there's, I think, some loitering laws I assume would apply. Um,
Probably, but like it's just a matter of like I would assume that they don't start enforcing those until they start to become a problem out there, which it seems to be so because it's becoming an eyesore for some people. So I'm sure that probably is what caused a call to the local PD.
who probably handle it and charge somebody with loitering, which and trespassing and whatever else they can
Well,
come up with.
maybe they usually don't do that right away. I don't think. Probably just tell them to move it along, and then if you come back, we'll charge you. But
Right. So
then
yeah,
again, that's all up to who shows up to respond to that.
yeah, each officer could handle it differently, for sure. But I'm not. I've seen no evidence of that. I would like to see if there was pictures available of this.
I'll keep an eye on the library for you. Perhaps the next live cast we can do, I can go hang out outside there if I can connect up to their Wi-Fi.
Oh man, I hope their Wi-Fi's we're sucking down some bandwidth right now. So, well, they are. Yeah, they're blocking view of Dropboxes. He has at least three articles up about this same subject.
Well, the Dropbox article, I don't think he wrote, but that is worth noting. No, there's new Dropboxes. Great Falls Public Library. Go check them out.
Oh,
Return your books.
yep, much better than the old Dropboxes apparently.
Oh yeah, those old ones have been there for a significantly long time. It seems.
Well, I mean, it's a box. I mean, I'm glad we got
Yeah,
new ones.
these
Uh,
new ones though, like it seems.
are they fancier?
I mean, you sure as heck are not going to be camping out inside of one when you get kicked off the lawn. I tell you that. This thing looks pretty secure.
So yeah, but I think he's doing it all wrong. His commentary here, because Great Falls is sort of a moderate, maybe even somewhat conservative city, definitely in the national scheme of things. But as far as Montana goes, I think they're a little bit on the right. And you're only supposed to criticize left-leaning cities for their homeless problems, such as Missoula, which would be fair game. There's a lot of homeless here. Usually it's no event. Sometimes we go play kickball in the park with them, and see them in passing. But yeah, you should be criticizing
How are
Missoula.
they at kickball in Missoula? I haven't played kickball with the local population here, but I haven't played kickball really since I was in about fifth grade. But how are they over there at kickball?
Oh, they're pretty good.
That, that's one
First,
thing I like about Missoula is the community spirit. You know, you can just show up at a park and play kickball with a bunch of strangers.
strangers and a few homeless people and some college students show up. You know, maybe they were homeless too, or definitely looked like it, but
I mean, what's the difference in these days?
at least several of them were in fact homeless.
I see.
And we've talked about this on a previous cast about the
Tent
homeless and
City?
yeah, tent city and the proximity to the Walmart and how that the Walmart by the river always smells at night.
Yeah, I remember us going over that one.
And it turns out it's completely unrelated to the homeless. The sewage treatment plant is a little bit down the block from that Walmart.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of because I mean, we now have two Walmarts as well, and I guess one could argue that we have a smelly Walmart, being the one next to the refinery.
Oh, there's always got to be a smelly Walmart. There has to be two, so you can be like, yeah, let's not go to that one.
Yeah, let's not go to. However, I think that the other Walmart is a little bit more of a rougher one, just because it's on like the very very edge of town over there. I know that's one where somebody almost got stabbed at.
Ooh, almost got stabbed.
Almost
Up their game.
near miss.
I mean, there's do or do not. I mean,
Yeah, well, they clearly weren't good at stabbing, so.
clearly. So yeah, that's a odd layout for a Walmart, just like our other Walmart. Apparently, all the people drive to the other Walmart because they don't want to go to the smelly one. So that's why you need two. Well,
Yeah,
let's abandon this topic and move on. And speaking of abandonment, Bullock is continuing his run for 2020.
I can't believe that. Is this still like
He was on the debates, so
indeed? But is his term for governor up this time around, or is he like giving up his spot to go try and take out Trump here? Essentially,
oh man, well, there's many people chomping at the bit for that job.
I just feel like there's probably at least one or two of his advisors that are like Steve. It would probably be very beneficial to just everybody in general if you kept being governor or tried to run for governor again, as opposed to just flying off. Because
Yeah, run for governor again or run for Senate. That's what a lot of people are trying to push him
who's
to.
running for governor now instead of him now? Because we've got Gene Forte,
Well,
and who is running against him?
he's
Like,
not up. It's not till next year. So if he were to get elected, he would assumedly relay his duties to his lieutenant governor, and
oh,
then not do any
okay,
governor stuff.
I see. So he's still. My apologies. Then I thought that the governor's race was up at the same time as the election here.
Oh, was it 6 years or 4 years? Because we just had our Senate, and then next year we're going to have another Senate race. So, or a congressional race, because we do them in off years. Yeah, he should run for the Senate, but him losing losing in the Democratic primary, I don't think is going to stop him from running from the Senate. So they're not mutually exclusive, is what I'm saying.
I see. Yeah, it's going to be interesting times to see how that rolls out.
Well, I don't think it rolls out with him getting to the White House. Then
Well, he didn't write the damn bill.
yeah, I saw some clips of him. I didn't listen to the whole hour-long debate. It seems like there ought to be a better format, and I'm hoping that for the next election cycle they don't let the corporate overlords have control of the platform. That they do something else, and maybe we can bring back debate like they do the old-fashioned debates, or how they do in the House of Commons over across the ocean. Have you seen those debates where their prime minister or whatever is actually in their house, and or what they call the House of Commons, and they actually debate each other? Somebody stands up, somebody sits down, somebody raises a point. It seems like a melee, but those darn British are so polite that it works out.
Yeah, I will say the debate between Trump and Hillary, even though it had its moments where it was definitely horrific, overall, I like the format there where they were allowed to just kind of walk around. He probably should have, not gone directly behind her at those times. But other than that, I thought it was cool that they could just waltz around like that, go up, get in people's faces while they're giving their points.
I would think that should be the format that we should go to. It's how I get the most issues. Every time I heard in this last debate, every time somebody was trying to, say something, they give him as little as 15 seconds to respond to a policy question, which isn't enough. And like as soon as they're getting to the crux of it, it's like your time is up.
Well,
So yeah, disappointing. Yeah, this whole thing's disappointing. I mean, I don't even know how many candidates there are in there now. I don't have time to watch all these debates.
there's like we've had two Democratic debates like consecutively now over like the last two nights. And the second night didn't even have Bernie or Warren in that one.
Well, there's too many to have on one stage.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You got to cut it down. You shouldn't even be debating if there's too many people.
Yeah, I thought it was bad when the Republicans in 2016 had 15 or so, but I think they got them into one debate that wasn't like this, where everybody and their dog was just jumping at it. So, geez, who will take down Trump, or will anybody take down Trump in 2020? I'm not optimistic. I don't think so.
It's going to be interesting to find out because I mean, basically all of that was just them pulling up a bunch of horrific shit everyone else at that podium had done, like years back.
Well, they shouldn't be forgotten. We have some real leaders, and that Joe Biden stuff from the 70s. That was rough, and I think that was the first debate.
Ouch. Yeah,
But
he
Bullock
should
is at it.
probably not show up again.
Yeah. Although we've been saying that if he was going to do it, he should have done it in 2016. That's when he had his shot, and we could have a very different country at this moment. So
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see where that goes, I guess.
yeah, but said won't be for Bullock. So back to Bullock will be back in the States just like we're getting back. Missoula has a new crypto ban out, which bans the increase in business or new Bitcoin mining related businesses. So those are out in Missoula County at least.
I
So
see.
I know we've talked about this in length before, but they're putting the wheels on. Who needs tech industry? But Great Falls is going to take the helm apparently. There's talks that old powerhouse over in Great Falls that is apparently no longer needed because they did that new construction to have the new powerhouse. That could be a new Bitcoin mining facility.
Yeah, and from everything I've seen, it seems like they're going to be pulling the trigger on it. I'm not seeing a lot of pushback, which, like, I don't know, it seems to me a little concerning because from what I've seen from these blockchain operations, a lot of times, if they start to become not lucrative, they will back out pretty fast. But I suppose if this is one where it's going to, basically fund running that dam by having them rent out that space, then fine, whatever. I just am nervous because all of those devices drawing all of that power down there, what is that going to do to everyone else's rates?
Well, those rates are regulated, so
Yeah,
hopefully nothing.
hope so.
But I know the numbers seem like a lot because they say this could power 1,300 homes or whatever. But when you look at other industries, I don't think it's that far out of whack for what you get in industry. So, haters gonna hate. I think they're not on the Bitcoin train.
Well, it's a new technology. People are afraid of new things and technology, in general. So, not surprising that they would be fearful of such a thing like this.
But this could be a good thing because, as I understand, if this doesn't come to fruition, I mean, that building's not really designed or ideal for anything else. So it will likely get torn down if it's not used. And it's historic. I think 1920, if I'm thinking right.
Wow, that's pretty old.
Yeah, pretty old, but a great spot for the old meets the new. That's crazy. A building in 1920 is going to house or could house the newest in technology here.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of retrofits they do inside of that place.
Ventilation. What if they do liquid cooling? That'd be something.
Yeah, right there. They got all that water. Might as
Yeah.
well bring it in. Just
Well,
open the window.
let's get a little less nerdy here. Or I don't know. I was talking AM radio. Is that less nerdy at all?
I don't know. I feel like that's about on the same level, if not more. But yeah, no, let's get into it there. AM radio. She lives on.
She does, and there is a new station in Great Falls, or a new old station, 1310 KEIN is back on the air. I've actually
Never
just
heard
been
of her.
never heard. Oh, it was a classic. They played the 40s, 50s. I think they stopped at that 50s, 60s stuff. So just 50s and earlier, I think, is what they did. Variety, as they called. And they're back on the air, and I've just been informed that they're off the air again, and will likely be back on the air next week.
Can you how much is that to like just turn off your station?
Well, when they turned it off before, this sort of has a weird story. KEIN was owned by Steve Dow. He's the owner of Munson Radio, the company that does the beepers over there. If that's still a business,
Have
who
not
knows?
seen one in a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, yeah. He was the owner, but got in some legal trouble with the landowner, Creed Evans. So Creed Evans owned the land, and Steve Dow from Munson Radio owned the actual radio station. And he got court ordered that he was locked out of the building. And apparently, in their disagreement, somebody broke in, an unknown source, who knows, and shut off the breakers to turn off 1310.
Oh, geez.
And since Steve Dow wasn't allowed in, it's been off the air, and now I don't know who the current owners are. I do have a guy who's sort of on the inside, maybe, but I can't tell you anything more about that. I can tell you that it's an Esquire, so it's owned by a lawyer in federal court at the moment, and will be turned over to its official owner soon, even though it's technically already operating. So,
Well, uh, good luck to that
confusing.
new owner. I feel like that whoever that new owner is about to just hit a golden opportunity that is just finally the payout that this person needs in their life. So all the best to them.
Yeah, hopefully, and they can get some ads sold and maybe carry some high quality political commentary.
All the best to them in their endeavors.
Yes, hopefully they find somebody for that. Well, back to radio stations, and this has been going on for several years. The Montana Ethical Hackers, which is sort of a hacker space up in Helena, they actually have their own low-powered FM radio station that they sort of broadcast, pretty much from the heart of Helena, about 100 watts. So it goes far. But when I just stumbled across it, and they were playing LibriVox, which is basically open source text recordings of, usually, free books, and uh, they were playing the anti-federalist papers. And I was just cruising around
Oh,
Helena, and they were on that for hours. And the next time I was in Helena, they were reading Peter Pan. So that it's interesting that they're running a radio station and putting on whatever content they could find, apparently. So
anything without a license on it.
yes, that's exactly it. But that's interesting. I don't know much about this group, these Montana Ethical Hackers. According to their website, they're a hacker space of 40 some people that do hacker, and I should specify they're hackers as in people that enjoy tinkering with technology, not necessarily crackers people that have some malfeasance in technology. So we'll make that distinction there. Technology enthusiast. Can't get them mixed up.
I see. Well, that's cool. They got their own radio station. I'll have to
That
check
is,
it out next time I'm in Helena.
yeah, but
What
yeah,
dial is it?
100.7, I believe. Actually, let me pull up my link here and make sure we're giving people the right info. Excuse me,
Is,
100.1
is it
LPFM.
100.1 and it's AM or is it
FM.
FM?
FM stereo high fidelity of LibriVox recordings.
That's a straight up requirement there. Needed. So, okay, 100.1. I will check that out.
Absolutely, and you do have to be in Helena proper. Said it's about 100
What?
watts. So I got it.
Maybe you should get a repeater and maybe that 1310 guy can hook up a deal to rebroadcast their stuff.
Yeah, maybe they're. I assume they're in different businesses. But on a side note, this is definitely off the record. But I've also been told from the guy who knows stuff, who I can't name, that there will likely be other AM radio stations coming in the future. So the future is now for AM, which is
Off the record on this live Facebook broadcast.
Yep. I just can't tell you who said it, but
Oh, well.
both me and you know who. But
I guess we'll find out if there are more AM radio stations to show up. But I love AM radio. If there's one thing I enjoy is listening to Rush Limbaugh talk about how crazy people like me are.
oh man, you got to get on rush hour every morning.
Every morning,
Every,
always. The
and
dial does not leave 1450 as it is. So now I can give a quick flick of the wrist to the left there and be on 1310 and check out some, hopefully, music from the best era ever there, the 40s and 50s. The
40s
swing
and
stuff, the big band, you know?
well, the new 1310, they were playing some modern music. They had some 80s and 90s in there as well.
Oh, so it ruined it then, it sounds like.
Yeah,
We already
maybe.
have one of those stations.
Yeah, we do. They go far back though, so I don't know. I think they should probably focus on a market because the people that like that 40s and 50s stuff are not going to tolerate that 90s crap.
They will not even bother dialing in if they hear one Cher song.
Yeah, exactly. So they should probably reconsider, but I don't know. I imagine they take whatever's cheapest to whatever licensing is cheapest.
Exactly. But then again, you'd think that those big band songs from the 40s and 50s would have zero licensing and therefore be like, the go-to. But what do I know? I'm no professional or business manager of a radio station, so I'll leave that to the pros.
Well, you'd think so, but also know that there's a reason why you don't hear "Happy Birthday" in any commercial productions, because it is a licensed product, and you have to pay
Oh
to
yeah,
perform "Happy Birthday."
yeah. There's a reason that Applebee's has 17 different weird songs.
Yes. Well, yeah, 14:50 a.m. Great spot. Over here in Missoula, it's 9:30 a.m. The Patriot Radio, and they actually have, unlike 14:50, they actually have local hosts here that are talking about a number of issues that are.
Actually, you mentioned it 1450 in the mornings. I believe there is, or maybe it's not 1450. It's the AFR, the American Family Radio. One of the two of them has Montana Voices on in
AFR
the.
has Montana Voices?
I think it's something like that. It's similar in name to our show, but it's a radio station, and it's
It
definitely got that libertarian feel to it.
libertarian, very right leaning. Reminds me of the old joke: what's the difference between AM and FM radio waves? Well, the AM waves lean further to the right. But I have tried to stream FM, including 1450 when I'm away. You need a good source for, like I said, your rush hour. And they also have, does 1450 still carry Hannity afterwards, I think?
Oh yeah, it's I forget. It used to be like a real super group they had going on because like early in the morning I'd get in and it would be Laura Ingram would be on and she'd have like a 2.5 hour segment. And then after Laura, it would be Rush. Rush would get on, yell for his 2.5 hours. And then when Rush was done, it would be Sean Hannity. When Hannity was done, usually I'm trying to think of who they would bring in. It was for the longest time it was Robert Davi, the actor.
Robert, I've, oh, the guy that was on Stargate? Is that the guy?
I probably like I haven't looked up his IMDb actually in a long time, but he was an actor, but he I guess has like a lot of strong political feelings. So they were like, yeah, well, let's put him on a radio show. And
Well,
so,
well, if that's the,
anyways, after his show stopped being on, they replaced him with the Jimbo Hannon show.
oh, I think it's Jimbo Hannon wasn't the on Stargate.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but if that's the only qualification, I mean, why doesn't Chuck Norris and
Hey,
Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, they should all have their own shows.
well,
They,
Kevin Sorbo does a lot of like Christian banquets, I think.
yeah, that's his new thing. He plays the villain in Christian fan fiction, essentially. So
Yeah, so it's a niche market there, but it's a paycheck, so you can't blame the guy. Um,
he's always in the B and C class of things. I mean, Hercules, for as instrumental as it was in my childhood, and Xena, also great action in that. Um, I can't imagine more high paying gigs.
well, they didn't have the production quality did not lead on the viewer to believe that a lot of money was spent on the show at all. So I could agree with you on that.
Well, all right. And I guess we have one last bit of unfortunate news. It's we're gonna let down the entire Flathead Valley community, or Valley community as they call themselves, Kalispell. But Mudman Burgers up there is no more. They closed their gates doors about a week ago, and I'd eaten there just about a week before, just a couple days maybe, and got a great burger there, and I
Could
sit.
you taste the abuse and like the misery?
Um, yes, it's made with tears. That gives it that nice salty, grindy feel. So
Yeah,
the burger was as
I
good as
thought
ever, and
at first, I don't know why, but I thought that this was like some sort of sex abuse case. But
thank
then when I read into it, it was just like he was hazing and harassing and like being emotionally abusive to his workers at this burger shop.
yeah, but on one hand, I was trying to balance it out. I didn't want to try to defend the old owners. For those not in the know, Mudman Burgers was a great burger. Well, they had great burgers. We'll say that. I won't
Did
call them
somebody else
great.
buy them?
No, they're just closing, and the employees aren't even getting paid for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, that's shitty.
Yeah, that's very. Uh,
That's unfortunate.
it is. It is. But yeah, not a great business. Great burgers though, and they were, I guess, a missionary type based restaurant, so the proceeds went to support missionary work, and a lot of the people that work there were people from other countries that came to America as refugees essentially, or were converted or whatnot apparently. But apparently the owners were not so good at managing businesses because one story breaks that some of your workers say they're not being treated well, and even the I think it was a Flathead Beacon that had it. Even outlined like some people said that this is what happened in here, but a lot of employees really liked working there. They did their due diligence, were an actual journalists, but apparently there was not enough reserves or anything to handle that sort of bad press, and they shut their doors immediately afterwards. So maybe not a good business model that you don't have a enough capital reserve to survive a week of bad press.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It seems like a volatile market up there, anyways. But
Well, they
I don't know.
worked. I mean, Roadhouse or Burger Dive are taking the number one spot for burgers. We've talked about this in the past, and I'm not even sure who's number three anymore.
Yeah, hard to say. I don't think there is one.
Oh,
Yeah, the spot remains open until someone applies.
till someone applies. Well, I'll be on the lookout for Montana's third best burger, and I'll be pleasantly surprised if anybody can knock the Roadhouse off their pedestal.
We'll
So,
have to do, if you do find it, you'll need to do a video review.
I was working on that, and I was actually in there with my cameras at Mudman Burgers, just videographing my burger, and while employees looked at me strangely. So
you need to take that outside.
well, that's all we have on our list, and I think we had another one in the books in our first live cast of Montana Voices podcast. So what a time.
Indeed. Smash that like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know how the quality was here, both in content and in audio. And we'll try to do better next time. And sorry if we disappointed, kind of.
No, everything was great, Bryce. I have not heard what the stream sounds like on the other side, so yeah, everything's fine. Charter Internet's the best service to stream on.
If this doesn't sound good, it's your internet problem, and your connection sucks.
That 100%, Bryce. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll go through the business once more, and then we'll put this one in the books.
Indeed. All right, here, one sec. Let me get back up to my business thing here. Let's see. We've got our website. It's going to be montanavoicespodcast.com. If you'd like to email us, it's going to be montanavoices@gmail.com. Our Twitter page, as usual, is going to be @Montana_voices. Then our Facebook page, where we are currently live at right now, is going to be at Montana Voices Podcast. Then you can find all of our episodes on YouTube. Just search for Montana Voices Podcast here. And then real quick, I'm just going to check and see if there's any sort of shout out I can give here, because we did talk about him quite a bit today. So I'm just going to see if he's got any local shows coming up down the line.
Are we promoting Rick Tryon's music career at this point?
Never mind. He's no upcoming shows.
Oh, well,
we mentioned him earlier, so I was going to say he's got a potential show coming up. You can go see him play some music, but the last post I see is from July 29th at the Celtic Cowboy. But I'll keep an eye out. If we see another post from him or any other local musicians like this, we'll be sure to give a shout out.
Absolutely. And Rick, I don't know if they just call him in the middle of the day, ask him to play at night, but it seems like his announcements are always the day of.
It's not even him. There's a couple other people like that in town that they do, like, I'm playing here tonight, show up. And it's like, well, gosh, I wish I could, but that's
very
in 10 minutes.
On-demand business. I mean,
so I would really put that more so on like the event organizers of the places as opposed to the talent.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to episode 26 of Montana Voices Podcast.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you again later, whenever that may be. Thanks for listening.